Take a look at this map of Southeast Asia in the 1800s. Something feels a bit off. Burma, colonized. Vietnam, colonized. Cambodia, Laos, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, all colonized. However, one country remains unscathed, Thailand. Yes, so even though they are completely surrounded, they somehow remained untouched. But it was not luck. See, it survived precisely because its leaders understood the situation they were in and played it carefully. While other places near them fell country by country, Thailand chose a different path. So this is the story of why Thailand never got colonized. So it's the 19th century and European empires are everywhere, doing the thing empires did during this time, colonization. So Britain controlled Burma, now Myanmar, to the west, and Malaysia to the south. France dominated Vietnam, Laos, and Cambodia to the east. The Dutch ruled Indonesia, and America controlled the Philippines. These were the major empires at the time that sought the natural resources and land of these countries. Now, during all of this, Thailand was observing and thinking about what it should do next. See, it saw how many countries in Southeast Asia chose armed resistance and lost. Burma fought Britain and lost. Vietnam resisted France and lost. And Thailand saw this and did not want to go down a similar path. So they tried something different. So one of the first advantages was its location. See, sitting between two rival empires meant it could act as a neutral zone. If Britain took Thailand, France would feel threatened. If France took it, Britain would push back. Both were major powers and did not want a full-blown war with the other. This was codified in the 1896 Anglo-France Agreement, which stipulated that neither side could advance its troops into Thailand, thus solidifying the buffer state. However, it wasn't just its location that allowed it to avoid colonization, but it was its leadership as well. So, starting with King Mongkut, also known as Rama IV, he ruled from 1851 to 1868 and was very different from most kings in the region at the time. See, before becoming king, Mongkut spent many years as a Buddhist monk, which gave him time to study English and read Western books. And because of this, he understood how European powers thought and how they justified colonization. So instead of treating foreigners as enemies, Mongkut instead welcomed diplomats, missionaries, traders, all to Thailand to learn from. He signed treaties with them, he held meetings, and made Thailand more familiar to these Western nations, as he knew that countries were less likely to invade a place they understood and had ties with. For example, when the king had meetings with nobles, they often did not wear shirts to show that they did not have weapons. This was looked down upon by the Western powers, and so to appease them, they decided to get rid of this practice. Because of this, it made it harder for the Western powers to invade, as they couldn't really say Thailand's culture was quote-unquote uncivilized, as they had done so in the past to other countries. Now his son, King Chulalongkorn, took this strategy even further. Ruling from 1868 to 1910, he focused on transforming Thailand into a modern state. As a child, he was taught by Western tutors, something his father had planned to help him get prepared once he became king. He travelled to Western occupied nations like British India and Java. He also travelled to Europe later in his life and saw firsthand how Western governments worked. Now, once King Mongkut had passed away, Chulalongkorn was of age. He first began reforming Thailand step by step. Slavery was gradually abolished, government ministries were created, and the legal system was restructured to be more similar to Western courts. Power was centralized under the monarchy, making the country easier to govern. Railways and roads were built, helping Thailand function like a modern nation and making it much more stable and united. And to the Western powers, Thailand now looked capable of ruling itself. Invading it would mean dealing with a functional government and a united land and people rather than a weak kingdom. Now finally, Thailand also played the diplomacy game very carefully. See, Thailand signed treaties which heavily opened trade, gave foreign merchants special rights, and lowered tariffs. Now Thailand knew that these deals were not equal, and they did give up a bit of their economic advantages. However, they signed these as they knew it would stop the Western powers from using trade as an excuse to invade. And even in some rare cases, Thailand even gave up land. Territories in modern-day Laos, Cambodia, and small parts of Malaysia were handed over to France and Britain. These losses did hurt. However, they bought time and, more importantly, independence for Thailand, as the kings understood something very important. Once independence was gone, it would take many lives to get it back. So that is how Thailand managed to stay independent from colonization. So if you enjoyed this video, then leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.